Hey YouTube, it's another perfect day in God's country, and I ain't lying. Hey, me and my friend Kobe here, we're out here wrenching on the old Green Goblin a little bit. Here's the one, this is part 2 of the 93 Ford inline 6 crank no start. And while most guys would have said, let's start by swapping the ICM, or, well, literally most mechanics would have pulled out their spark tester and their test lights and checked for power and stuff at the ICM and things like that. Don't just misunderstand me. But I'm not a mechanic. I'm a musician. I just happen to like my Ford trucks and have a few in the yard. And, if you're not familiar under the hood of these, one of the nice things about most of these old Ford trucks, at least the ones in my yard, is oftentimes you can find a cold Pabst Blue Ribbon down in there if you look hard enough. These were good trucks. That's why I drive them. Now, I told y'all the first thing I was going to do is change the spark plugs, and took all the gewgaws off here, made myself a little room, and got down there and took them spark plugs off. They're pretty bad. They're pretty ugly spark plugs. I'm going to show you guys in a minute what they look like. But I also found some teeth marks in a couple of these spark plug wires, and probably from that mouse that found himself dead there got trapped in the air container somehow. My guess is maybe he was in there when I ran the truck or something. I don't know. But anyway, I told y'all this thing would fire off once in a while and run really well once she fired off. And I became a little surprised about that as I pulled those plugs. First of all, they look pretty nasty, but the fifth one back was very loose. I found it loose, like wobble loose. And then plug number 6 wasn't tight either. Wasn't wobbly loose, but it was loose. So for any of you fellas that change your own plugs, or have changed plugs, even if you changed them just back in the day when we all used to work on our cars, you know that most of the time you put them in with your fingers. And by the way, folks, my Fords usually run a little better than everyone else's, and I thought I'd share some of my secrets with you guys. I did coat all of the threads on my new plugs with this oil here. I don't know if y'all can read that. Hopefully you can. Yes, boys, that says Cadillac. I use Cadillac oil to oil things in my Ford, and that's why my Fords run a little better than most of the fellas. They don't know that little trick. Lucky's got some of those tricks like that where, I use that super special motor oil. For all of you who don't appreciate this oil can or know what it is, way back in the day, in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, when you bought a new Cadillac, it came with a toolkit because fellas used to keep their own cars maintained and running. And this was a Cadillac oil can made out of copper, by the way, from one of those toolkits, and it still works because they made stuff right back then. So this is a very cool antique, and I keep it filled with Cadillac oil, and I oil my Fords with it, and therefore they run a little more like a Cadillac, boys. It's just common sense, Just like I had a Marshall amp when I was a kid that went to 11. I learned that from that guy on Spinal Tap, and it was cool to be one louder than everyone else. I always enjoyed it. So the fifth and sixth spark plug were both loose, and here's what they look like, fellas. I don't know if you can see those. Let's just say there's all 6 of them right there. Some of the ugliest spark plugs I ever seen. I told y'all they were antiques. These have probably been in there 20 years, maybe longer. I don't know, but they are not pretty. So I put 6 new auto lights in there. Not my choice, but that's what I had. I put 6 new auto light plugs in there, but they're nicely and lightly, properly oiled with Lucky's famous Cadillac oil. So we know she's going to run good. Now, almost never, very rare, folks, when you got crank and no start, is it going to be just change the 6 plugs and the problem is solved. However, I just have a hunch, because those plugs were horrible, and one of them was, I don't even know how it was functioning. All I can tell you guys is that these plugs right here, along with one being wobbly loose and the other one not being tight, are a testament to these inline sixes. I don't believe a lot of motors could run on plugs this nasty, but anyway, we're going to just clean some things up. The other issue we got going on right now is we got us a dead battery, and that's going to be a real common issue anytime somebody has a vehicle that has crank but no start, right? Because you're cranking and cranking till you burn out your battery, which is what I did on this. So I won't call it a directly dead battery, but just trying to clean up a little so I can fire her up. See if she fires up. I ain't tried nothing yet. And I do know that there's very little juice in this battery. But if my guess is right, she's going to want to fire up so bad, she's just going to light right off. And then we'll just recharge the battery that way. Doesn't look like I got anything laying around. I should probably hook that back up just so I don't suck anything into the valves there. All right. Okay, well, let's see what happens. We'll just crank on her a little bit here. Uh-oh. Well, it takes her a minute to get fuel, so. Oh, dead battery. Boy, I really thought she was going to fire off. Okay. Looks like we need to get the battery charger out here and give her some juice. But she didn't light right up like I predicted. So we got 6 brand new plugs and pulled 6 really ugly ones out. The wires, the cap, and the rotor are also equally nasty. And so I probably wouldn't do that if it was strictly about troubleshooting, but those need to be replaced really bad anyway. So I'm going to get 6 new wires and a cap and rotor for this. And then she'll probably fire off, boys. She's probably going to fire off anyway. I think I could charge that battery up and get her to fire off. But I really expected those plugs to just light her right up. But one step at a time. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and bell. And ask yourself, who can I help today? And go out there and do it. See y'all.